In this lecture, we will see how we can combine multiple sheets from multiple workbooks. So this time around, we have the same three files like earlier. The difference being that the first sheet, the first workbook, which is workbook number 1, has two sheets in it. So we have sheet and sheet number 2, while the other two workbooks have a single sheet in each of them. Let's see how we do this. So we start the same way. Data, get data from file, from folder. We will copy the folder path and then paste it here. It shows us there are 3 workbooks in that folder. We will click on combine and transform. Now we have two choices. We can either select the first sheet or the second sheet. It doesn't really matter which one you select. Do remember that you can't select both of them. You can only select a single one. Like I said, it doesn't matter which one you select. I'm choosing the first one and I press OK. All right, now we have the result. If you notice, because we chose the first sheet, which was also available in the other two workbooks, it is giving me all the 6 records. Obviously, it is not picking up the data from the first workbook and the second sheet. How do we do that? On the right side, if you notice, we have a list of, let me just highlight this for you. We have a list of all these steps that have been auto-generated. What we want to do right now is to select the first one, and here it says that this is the folder path. And if you look at the second one, it starts to perform other actions, but we don't really need all of this. So I will click on the second one and then delete until end. This means we are deleting everything, including the second step. And we only want the first step, which is the source step. From this one, we don't want all of these details. Here we have a lot of things: folder path, attribute, date created, so on and so forth. We simply want to select the first 2 columns, right click, and then remove all the other columns. Once we have done this, we want to click on add column and then create a custom column. And this would be Excel.workbook. And in this, we want to choose our content column, and then we keep the second argument as a true. So you just have to remember this part: Excel.workbook, select the column. Obviously, the column will always be called content, and then you choose true. And the result that you get would be, let's make sure we have seen it correctly. So interestingly, the true here will not be capitalized, which is how you do it on Excel. You will have to put it in lowercase, and that is where it will work properly. So once you've written Excel.workbook content true, we get a third column called custom. Click on the expand button, select OK. And now you notice that for each one of the workbook, I can see all the sheets. But remember, we only need the sheet and not the table. So in the kind column, we will simply select the sheet. So now if you notice, already shows us sheet number 2 for workbook number 1, and then sheet for workbook number 3, and then sheet for workbook number 2. But where is the data? The data is there in the custom.data column. If you expand this, you notice we have region and sales. Press OK, and you notice we get all the data that we wanted. And finally, you can remove what you don't require. So I can remove my content column. I can also remove item and kind and hidden. And the final result that we would get looks like this. So it tells us that workbook number 1 has 2 sheets, sheet and sheet 2. The first sheet has 2 values, east and east, 50, 60. The second sheet has 2 values, southwest, southwest, which is 50 and 60. And just to show you how this would work if we add even more sheets, let me go back to my folder. I will open up the third workbook, which is the number 2. Let me first click on close and apply. Okay, so we have got our data set here, and right in front of you, I want to go back to my number 2 workbook. I will create another sheet. Remember, the name could be anything, it doesn't matter. I can even write my own name. Let's say this is Northeast and Northeast, and the numbers are 1 and 2. How do we see the change in our consolidated file? We simply right click and refresh, and you notice, okay, there is a bit of a problem. Oh, I think I have to close the file first. So let me make sure that I've closed this file. And when I click on the table, right click and refresh, you notice the new sheets have also got picked up. So let's do a quick recap of what all is this capable of. What we have seen now is that even if you're working with multiple workbooks and each one of those workbooks has multiple sheets in it, Power Query does have the ability of consolidating every single sheet from every single workbook into a single master file. And please remember, even if you're working with nested folders or subfolders, Power Query will still go through every one of those subfolders.